That's a big difference.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a difference, but it's also money that's being spent for a provided service to the veterans within the community that, you have to, really look out there and see how many veterans are being serviced. What service is being provided? What information is being provided to the community to assist the veterans that are out there right now that are in need?
Virginia?
I just wanted to make a comment about the amounts of money that were returned. They returned 75% of whatever we paid towards the veterans.
That's
Yes.
correct.
So that had nothing to do with the conversation that we had. That had directly to do with how much was spent on veteran services.
Mhm.
Right, whatever you spend, you get, if you certify the budget and
Exactly.
do all the paperwork,
Exactly.
and that's up to each member town's treasurer to do that. Like in the warrant, there's the payments that are made to the vets, and that gets reported, but the treasurer each month of each member town has to certify that that stuff was done in a timely fashion. I believe it's by the end of each month, or the state, you lose that money.
You lose the money, exactly.
You won't
There
get
are other stipulations too, when you set up your own service. It has to be in a private office. It can't be with anyone else.
Right,
Yes.
because of the confidential nature
Yeah.
of, I mean, the payment of the monies is public
We have
money,
a problem
but,
with offices already, so
Right.
I'm not sure how we find it in a private office.
Yeah, you're right.
Steve, and then,
His,
go ahead.
your proposal is to cut your hours to 20.
Well, I'm just giving the board an opportunity to look at a cost-saving measure. I'm not saying I'm not gonna do the job. I mean, if they want me to do the job, I'm more than happy to take it, but I'm a retired
I'm not
vet.
assuming that, but you're going to cut the hours down to 20,
Mhm,
all right, rather than what, 35.
34.
And you presently are serving how many vets? Because I mean, as far as I'm concerned, vets gave their lives, they've given their lives. They deserve 35, or even more.
Yep, you're right.
And as far as I'm concerned, cutting anything from them is cutting their throat.
Well, I think we're not cutting anything.
All right, well, let me ask you this question specifically then.
Mhm.
All right, if you're only doing 20 hours, all right, and you serve, I don't know how many you're serving right now, but you're saying to me that you can do 20 and serve more.
Yes.
All right, so why can't you serve more with 35?
Well, you could, but the whole process is trying to economically pull the
Why
community
are you trying
back.
to save money? Or you come here to save money,
Mhm,
and you say you can serve more and you want to cut hours.
that's right.
It doesn't figure in my head. I don't know about anyone else. Why don't you explain it to me?
Well, it does. I mean, if you look at the cost savings of a veteran that's internal, meaning he lives in the community in town, he functions within the community, he works with the board members. I mean, he can or she can service more veterans and get the information out there. There's only 6 veterans that are using the Mass General Law Veteran 115 right now anyways.
In
So,
Templeton?
in Templeton. That's it.
And
6.
you want to expand that?
Heck yeah, I do. I think there's more veterans that need assistance.
And, okay, so you think if by putting an individual in town, that's gonna happen?
Absolutely. Without a doubt in my mind. Because
What happens to the other towns? Do they all get individuals too?
no, they would have to rejoin the district.
Their amount would go up.
Well, that's what I'm getting at. Would the amount go up?
They would have to split it.
Again, that would be on the district, chair for that individual, whoever's doing. I don't have the answer for that.
I just didn't sound sensible to me. I see what you're trying to do, being one-on-one. I respect that, but, like I said, I would never cut veterans for anything.
No, that's not my intention. That's not my intention. My last 6 years on the active service, I mean, I just retired in February 2nd. So my last 6 years was just doing this stuff in Wellesley, Massachusetts, working with veterans, working with the family support groups, working with, transitional assistance people, working with the VA on the federal side as well as the state side to assist them through the process. Because it's a tough process to travel through. I mean, the VA, obviously, a VSO covers down on all the Mass General Law Chapter 115 benefits, but it's bigger than that, because you have veterans benefits out there, education, housing, monetary benefits with a comp and pen physical, where you get compensation every single month monetarily. There's just so many, the SHOP program.
Well, you mentioned suicide. I saw that suicide rights were up and,
Yes.
on that particular situation, and I know we don't have those kind of resources in this town,
Yeah, because there's no outreach. I mean, we have the vet center in Gardner, we
That's
have a
right.
great vet center in Worcester. And not saying I want to establish a vet center, but I definitely want to establish where, a landline, where someone's in that crisis, they can call. We did talk about 20 hours per week, but I would probably suspect with the board's assistance to get some type of smartphone that's on 24/7, so if a veteran does have an issue and he calls that phone, if it's on my day of work or not, it doesn't matter, I'm still gonna pick up the phone. Because that's the important piece of it, because I don't need the money.
I guess you don't.
I don't. I'm 100% disabled with the VA, I'm 90% disabled with the Army. You can only get shot so many times. So financially, I don't need any money. I'm doing this because I care about the veterans and the community. Athol, he's doing a great job. I'm not gonna kick him, I'm not gonna say anything bad, I think he's doing a great job. But I think we could do better here with our own people, even with less hours.
Bob, and then, did you have something, Bob?
No, I'm all set.
Okay. Bernie?
I just want to be sure I understand what I heard here. Our share of the cost for this veterans rep and alcohol is $23,000 a year. And we get 75% rebated by the state, is that true?
No, only on whatever benefit that's being utilized of the Mass General Law, Chapter 115. So like if John needed assistance and they gave me $1,000, the town would get $700 back.
Oh, I see.
But as far as the pay, that directly comes from taxpayers, totally separate entities. As far as what benefit goes out, what benefit comes in at 75%, and what cost that the VSO is being graded at.
I could understand cutting the time available for a veteran to see this veterans rep down by half, as being kind of offset by the benefit that you're having that service right in town.
Exactly.
So I guess the only concern here on my part is that we can get the same service for $23,000, cutting back to 20 hours here.
Okay.
Yes,
Okay?
go ahead. And
Yes,
then-
ma'am.
A couple of things. The people that are being served regularly are not the only people that get served by the veterans officer now. Because I know both my brother and my father both got services from them, and they are not in that group that get
Right.
regular services. So then they're not the only ones that get the services. And the other thing is, 20 hours a week in this town is a full-time employee, and that would come with benefits, which means it's not just gonna cost us 20 hours a week, it's gonna cost us plus benefits. So we need to look at that too.
Diane?
John, I
Yes,
think, thanks for bringing this to my attention. But I think it's a matter of if we're going to make a change of some sort, I'd like to see some kind of proposal or, I commend you for trying to do something for less hours and you want to help more people. That's amazing. We really appreciate the service that you've given. But it's a matter of what do you have for us to look at that we could kind of go over and,
Right.
like even what Mrs. Wilder is saying is if it's 20 hours, where would we locate that person and the cost to us for health insurance and, trying to, what's the impact of that?
Okay.
Whether it be you or someone else, it would be nice to have something to look at, and I'm definitely going to do a little bit more research into that.
Okay.
But thank
I
you.
will definitely get that to you. I'll put something together.
I think on the board's end, if this is something we wish to explore, I think we need to find out, is this something that has to be posted as a position or advertised?
Right.
So.
So
you know,
there's just,
we can start
like,
them
in my head, I'm
plans.
like, there
Yeah.
seems to be like some moving parts that I don't feel like I don't have all the information
Right.
to be able to even say, I mean, today I'm assuming this is like more for informational
It
purposes.
is.
Or also, I think I heard a date of April 1, so is this something that you're looking for this year for us to do, or for us to look at it going forward for next year?
That
you know, to say,
It says in April, so we have.
okay. So we definitely would have some time to look at that, if you could put something together, and if everybody else has some ideas, you know, to take care of that. It would be nice to have someone in our own community, if you feel that that outreach is not being done through the district, and that we would have someone right here, same as we have Council on Aging,
Right.
who definitely has a piece of it here, and same thing that we say all the time, how will you educate the public, and how, you know, to have somebody to call and to go to.
Right.
You know, but to maybe for us to think outside the box also, to help you with that.
Dave, did you have something?
I think it's important we look at our own veterans directly.
Right.
Correct.
A lot of one-on-one
Mhm.
would happen a lot better in town than it will in a district somewhere else. The other thing is if the board could come up with questions for him to answer before the deadline, it'd be a lot quicker process to get the ball rolling, get, you know.
I would say for me,
If you have concerns, write
not
them down.
sure what I would ask.
Yeah, well,
I mean, that's really, I mean,
Right.
to
It's wide
give
open.
more information, and then maybe some of the questions would come, but.
If my memory suits me right, and I think it does, I think we contacted the district and kind of got a negative response with a question you guys threw out at them.
I still have those emails.
I think it was an ugly, I think it was a very ugly response, which, you know,
Still have them.
tend to make me wonder why we stay in it if we do.
The man felt like he was being attacked, that's why.
In back, and then you, Diane.
Being a veteran myself, I go on 100% with anything that we can do, because that boy, as we know, Mr. B. Hussein is trying to do anything he can to give welfare to the whole world while he cuts veterans' benefits.
Right.
But it seems to me that the only thing we're talking about here is a lot of common sense. If we got one guy doing 5 towns and 35 hours a week, we're gonna get a hell of a lot more out of him in our town for 20 hours a week. And to answer Mrs.
Wilder?
idea about the 20 hours, make it 19 and a half, we just solved the problem.
I was just gonna tell him.
So, you know,
There you go.
we can build this thing along, but yeah, I mean, I got a niece and a nephew that go down to Bedford a couple of times a week. You know, when your job for a year is running around in a Humvee picking up body parts, you get a little bit screwed up. And I know that of the 2 of them, well, only one of them lives in town, is he getting benefits? Yes, he is. Do they deserve it? Yes, they do. And they deserve anything that we can do, so, you know, something like this makes an awful lot of sense to me.
The one thing about that, about one-on-one and stuff, and I know it's happened to me twice, to be told by the VA that I'm not a vet. I got 3 DD-214s, but for the older vets, and there's been fires and there's records lost and guys lose their stuff, so if you try to, there's certain stuff you need, and somebody to aid you in tracking that stuff down today is, some of the stuff is still on paper, some of it's been converted to digital, but if you don't have it in your possession, it's hard to get anything, because it's a government agency and they want to have it, you know, proof on paper. So sometimes if you have one-on-one, someone that you can go to, they can, you know, help you out and get that paperwork, because you don't get anything without it. So, Diane?
You know, the senior center, would, once it's done and up and running, would probably be a space, if we move towards this, that would be able to give him a room with privacy. In the meantime, the back room of the assessors, you could close both doors and that would be a private space. And one other thing, this is for you, John. Bethany, the director that was here,
Yes.
is wanting to reach out to the younger vets
Mhm.
and kind of,
That was my goal. There's a lot of us out there.
and hook them up with the older vets and maybe team those guys up and they can help each other.
Absolutely.
You might give her a call and
Okay.
see if you guys can,
Sure.
yeah, I'll give you the phone.
I'm home. I'm retired. I just sit at home.
Thank you, John.
You're very welcome, so I'll put that proposal together.
Yes.
Good, okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next item was a request from Selectman Robinson. It goes back a couple of meetings, but it's been put off a couple of times.
The only reason that I wanted this on here, we currently have a deadline for the suggesting agenda items. Tuesday is 5 o'clock for close of business. Close of business, so 7 o'clock on Tuesdays. If we, and I'm not begrudging having meetings every week, but if we had meetings every other week, I think that that date would work better, because we'd have a whole week to get feedback, a week and a day to get feedback, from people watching the meetings and, contacting us with additional questions or emailing us. But with the meetings every week, I think that it's difficult sometimes for people to bring their issues forward to us, because they only have about a day to do it. They have it from tonight until tomorrow at 7 o'clock. So my suggestion would be, if we pushed it off, if the board feels that it would be appropriate, now that we've gotten some experience doing this, to just make it Wednesday evening. So we're just adding one, so we're not doing it Thursday at the last minute, so it doesn't cause those problems. But just by adding that extra 24 hours, that people have time to kind of digest the meeting, think of things that they have to, they want taken care of, or issues that arise in other committees that we're on. So we have that extra 24 hours to bring them forward. I know I think that there could possibly be ramifications for that for the office that I'm not aware of, just because I'm obviously not in there all the time, but that would be my suggestion. I believe it's section
It's on page 4,
4. Yeah.
under agenda procedures.
Yeah.
Yes.
To add something to that, I think that would work fine, but I think we need to make it a rule that when people put something on the agenda, they need to send the backup right then and there. I'm having a really hard time getting the backup from people.
So,
I will make a motion to amend the Board of Selectmen policies and procedures on page 4 under agenda items to read, should make an effort to have such material available for the Wednesday afternoon preceding the meeting. Is that okay?
Yep, I'll second it.
And does that include the backup information? I'm sorry, Julie, I might not have heard the whole everything you said. Does that include the information to go with it, so that, since they seem to be struggling with that?
Well, I think the next sentence does that. It's like, if background information is not provided, or is insufficient or complicated, or if complex memos or motions are presented at the meeting, which were not in the board's meeting packet, any member should feel free to request tabling of the item. So if you don't feel there's sufficient information to act on it, even though it was an agenda item, you
So
can
we
table it.
just don't? Okay.
all right, we have motion made and seconded. Yes.
Could I address the board on another matter? I'd like to know if the board has ever entertained this idea. I know we're broke and there's money issues, and the Light and Water Department is a municipal department. Apparently we have an interest in it, and I'd like to know why we don't sell it. The fact of the matter is, if we sold it to a National Grid or some other place, the municipality issue would be over. It would be a private entity. It would bring in tax money. And the second issue being the fact that all of the laws that would help disability people and low-income people would then function into it, because it'd no longer be a municipality. And 35% off my bill would be nice. And I'd like to know, I got the town deed, and it seems to me that all we've done is let someone else run it. fact is, the townspeople still own it. And if we're broke, why don't we sell it? So I'd like to know why we don't sell it, or have you entertained it?
Can I make a motion to move Mr. Drury's question until we vote on this agenda item? I'm sorry, I would love to hear more about that, but can we, it doesn't go with what we were just in the middle of.
Yeah.
Well,
Virginia-
that's true,
Not to,
but
not to ignore that, but we need to
Okay,
finish what we
fine.
were doing first. I'm a little confused. so
That,
I
that,
understand the question.
that thing has been brought forward before. And that would be an
I just
issue
wanted
for a
to
town
finish
meeting.
the vote on this piece.
Kate,
Can
And
I
then-
just throw out a suggestion to maybe think about switching board of selectmen meeting nights from Monday to Tuesdays? We're already in the office anyways, on Tuesdays till 7, and having Mondays almost every week. Meetings every Monday, and then making a long day on Tuesday, and then just a suggestion.
I can second that suggestion.
I'll make a note of that.
Well, I think the issue too is where, I'm gonna lose her, at least for the time being, into the other office. It's gonna be just me for a while. I'm gonna be here Monday, almost every week, as we've seen, all day, and then Tuesday, 7 to 7. So we need to figure that out.
Right, the only thing is, Mondays Bob is available, and Tuesdays he's not. But I believe, now either email him or talk to him, he'll be in Thursday, when it's wrapped up in Northfield.
Okay.
That'd be the only thing. Because, I mean, he's not here tonight because he's doing a budget there, but that would be the only thing. He would miss that meeting if we would go to Tuesday. But I don't see any reason to not do it, moving forward somewhere down the line.
When he switches over.
Oh, yeah, whenever.
I guess when I see.
Oh, and there's a permanent, But yeah, looking forward, no, I don't have any problem with it. All right, nothing. All right, on the motion. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And yes.
So was Mr. Drury's question answered? I'm sorry, I just needed to finish that. That's all. I didn't
Okay.
want to make it seem like I wanted to ignore that. That wasn't my intent.
I wasn't aware there was a motion on, I thought they were going to agenda process, so I
No.
apologize. But I would like to know, what was any answer to that question? What happened?
I would have to look up in the minutes, but that is a subject that would have to be a town meeting. That'd be the place to ask that question. It would be up to the board or citizens petition to move it forward, but
Well.
I think subject has been raised in the past.
And so, when you say the subject's been raised, what do you mean by that? I mean,
It's been
you
brought up,
entertain it?
it's been brought up.
Do you entertain it? You want to entertain it? This is my question.
Has it been on the agenda of the selectmen's meeting?
We could get it there, I suppose.
You could request it. I think it's been, all I know is it has been discussed, it has been brought out in various forums.
Okay,
But that would have to be decided at a town meeting.
All right, so we need a vote. Right? We need to do an instruction. In other words, that's what you're telling me. We need to do an instruction with the town vote and ask the town if they would be willing to do it, to instruct you to do it. Okay, I'll do that. That's all I wanted to know. Thank you.
Virginia?
Done a little bit of research on that already, and fact is, when you get somebody to buy a municipal department like that, they don't have to buy the debt, just keep that in mind. So then we're still stuck with the debt.
Well, let me comment on that. I dealt with
Okay,
National Grid, rather.
all right, I'm gonna stop you there, because
Why?
we haven't,
Okay.
it has been brought up, we're just not gonna discuss that on and on and on.
It's not an agenda item.
Dave? Oh, okay. All right, discuss having a town meeting or town hall meetings for the budget to put information out there, the how, why, where it is. So like we did last summer, and I believe Diane had some ideas on how to do this besides just, we had 3 meetings in here, and I think she had some other ideas or
No, it's not
approaches,
really
or-
like other ideas, it's making sure that we educate the public and that you see what we see and to, either, I was hoping that Bob would be here, I didn't realize that he wouldn't because he and I had kind of just said, making sure that something's videotaped and that it's shown, not just that someone has to watch it, just at a certain time, that I know it's on YouTube, but that there would be some definitive, what happens when you use the free cash, what happens that we've used up the stabilization fund, not just for the crisis that we have right now, but what's going to go forward. And it's kind of the same thing like what you tried to do, but really make a huge push for, trying to figure out how to get people to come. Can we use the Connect Ed here? Would we be allowed to use that, to send that out through there? And to really set a couple of dates and, either all the selectmen come. I mean, if we're all going to come, then we have to post it as a meeting. Absolutely. And to just really, make sure people come in the audience. But if they don't, that we're prepared with some questions that we think, maybe sending a list, having people call you, what questions do you have? And if you can't come, to make sure that we address those to the public. Just some people can't come out and it's winter time and it's at nighttime, or I want to make sure that we really take into account what people's concerns are. Is really, not to necessarily do anything different, because I did come to those town hall meetings and I thought it was good that the public could speak and that you answered in different people. So it's not really different, it's just making sure everyone's involved.
I'd like to suggest that instead of doing it in the Kiva, because it was much too big, that we do it at 690, because then the turnaround time, when we video it, you have to go and render it, right? And that takes a few hours. But when it's at 690, when he's recording at 690, he can burn the disc and it's right there. So
What's the capacity for people at 690, and the parking is terrible?
40.
I mean, that's really my only
Right,
concern with that, and again, I was really hoping I could have the hearing piece for today. I'm only gonna speak about that for me. The people who speak in the back room, like Mr. Columbus, I really can't hear you, and that's why there's the microphone. So I understood what you said by how someone else answered, but I'm really more concerned about parking too, and that people, it's like it's a small space, and I just want it to be really inviting. I mean, if this is not the appropriate venue, that's fine. It's just really making sure that we do
Yeah, I
that.
believe it's 47 people, including the selectmen.
Okay, that's
so-
fine.
Bob?
Yes, I think this would be the better venue.
For shouting.
Even my band here heard that.
Not for advocating, but for shouting.
do we want to develop some dates?
Yeah, could we do that? That would be great.
I think doing a Saturday would be good.
Oh, that would
because
be a
you're
great
gonna
idea,
get,
too.
You're going to get the people who are working during the week that might come on a Saturday afternoon. If you do it in the daylight, then you're going to get the seniors to come as well.
Yeah.
So I think, and we've only got till the 29th, so.
Well, the 29th would be the meeting, so,
Right, so
if
maybe
you want to do a Saturday, could we do it, even the Saturday before, and that would be fresh in everyone's mind? And we would have, at least some, we need a little bit of time to kind of put together, making sure that we have some materials to give out to the people, also. I'd be happy to donate a ream of paper for that or more, or even make the copies. So, I just feel strongly, that we have what we think that people need and have something to take away with them to kind of digest. So, but yeah, the Saturday before would be good,
That's fine.
maybe?
It doesn't make any difference or not, but I will not be able to attend a weekend thing because I'm committed to some training stuff.
You wouldn't be able to do
No,
that
but
weekend?
it doesn't matter if I'm there, but I'm just saying that
Oh, well, that's
if I don't
important
show
also.
up, it's not because I don't care, it's just I'm committed.
You're away that weekend? Okay, so the weekend before?
It's through,
But I think if we do one on a Saturday and then
July
maybe one in the evening, also, I'm not saying just one.
Okay. no,
I
that's
would
cool.
like to see more than one happen, to try to accommodate different people's schedules.
And, because I think Marco had said, had a suggestion about selectmen and doing the same thing, like
Yep.
making a recording and showing it
Yeah, I had called him and
Multiple
actually
times.
spoke to him about that.
over that.
And had an initial conversation about what some of his thoughts were.
Okay.
Do we want to choose dates today, or do we want to talk to Bob about, because I know he wanted
His
to be involved in that, and he's not
We,
here, so.
Anything we have to do is check availability.
Yep, we can make
on
that,
this.
we could make
Just,
that phone call.
yeah,
I mean,
either
I don't
Kate
know
or
if,
Nate
I don't think anyone's
Sue
here
Varning
for
and
that, but
see
I
the
could make that call.
availability of
Right,
this.
I don't think it needs an official vote of the board, so. I
No,
think
not
we can-
today, but
right.
can we, like,
What are some dates you're looking at for availability?
Uh,
22nd, one of them?
say, I'm sorry,
For availability for here?
is the 20, but you're saying you
22nd.
couldn't come and you couldn't come, but at least if the three of us
Well,
could
yeah, I
come?
mean, if,
The 22nd?
Yeah.
Sorry.
Okay.
And then maybe an evening?
I would think a Wednesday, because that seems to be the night that there aren't a gazillion meetings.
There aren't enough
Um,
other meetings? Okay.
Right, so like either the 12th or the 19th.
Yeah.
That might be school,
Yeah,
oh,
the
that's school committee was a
committee or-
Wednesday?
Yeah, either school committee or budget committee or something.
26th.
going
I
on.
think the 26th.
I thought that was the 5th and the 26th.
That's what I saw.
I thought it was the 5th and the 26th. I don't recall anything being on the 12th or the 19th. Like, I don't know if you want to do them,
Right, I think the 19th is probably the regular school committee, and the 5th and the 26th
are they
just for
extra?
budget.
So,
Yeah.
the 12th?
Yeah, so that's what- Seeing if we
Could
did
we
do
ask
it
for
on
the 12th, Holly, for here?
And if we
Yeah.
And
did
if
do
that's
the
not
12th,
possible, then, we'd also have to ask Bob if he can do that,
Yeah, I don't know with Northfield.
Right.
and-
Yeah.
since he's not
I mean, so
really.
if it'd be better to do Tuesday the 11th, because Bob's already here. Or no, he's
No,
not here
he's
on
not here
Tuesday.
on Tuesdays.
No, he's not here,
Monday,
but maybe he
Thursday.
would make a special
On
appearance.
Thursday. So if we did Thursday the 13th, seeing the advantage of doing it earlier in the month like that is we could record that whole
Right.
meeting and then play that meeting on the
Yep.
TV, the next week.
Try to drum up, yeah.
Yeah.
And we can maybe get.
So if we could ask about a couple of dates that Doug is saying, then, yeah,
12th, 13th, and
We
22nd.
could get multiple showings.
yeah, I would love
on-
that,
on- From the
Right.
cable guy.
yeah.
You know, and I think that was one thing was kicked out at one of the meetings or something.
YouTube is a great resource also. So, I mean, when I can't watch them on TV, that's where I watch them,
The
because
town's got
I
a Facebook page.
have the,
Just saying.
well, you could post it all over your Facebook pages also.
Well, I mean, no, the town of Templeton has.
Right,
the
and,
town.
and through the town of Templeton. But I would like to encourage the residents to ask the questions that they have right now, so that we can have some kind of, what are your concerns about the budget? What do you want to know? What do you think other people want to know? Because sometimes when you ask questions, it's not just for you. It might be that someone else doesn't want to ask that question. So, I think Kate had her hand.
Wilfred,
I'm gonna move down so you can hear me better, okay? I have asked quite a few questions at selectmen meeting, and I think that this proposed town meeting is very, very important. But in my mind, for a much more important item, the taxpayers of this community are very, very cordial and extremely smart, really. They are faced with a terrific problem. They know that their sewer rates are going to go up. They know that their water rates are going to go up. They know that the Board of Selectmen has voted and asked the town administrator to examine the possibility of the people that use water, that they will pay an amount of money in lieu of taxes. So that's possibly another expense. We have all these added expense, and for the majority of people in our community, their incomes will not go up. so they're stuck with all these costs. Now we're faced with the fact that there's going to be an override. I don't think there's any other way that the town can come up with the 505,000 without some override. But we don't know the amount. But we do know that our town finances are at the bare bones. We know the town administrator has pointed out that we maybe can save a few bucks here and there. We do know that the Board of Selectmen has asked the department heads to come forth with proposed cuts. And most of these department heads basically have told us that some of the money will have to come from labor. We have all these things. And yet, on top of that, I asked 2 questions. I asked the chairman of the Board of Selectmen and the town administrator if the $505,000 shortfall had anything to do with F-13. They said no. My next question was, is this shortfall of $505,000 F-14, and will it extend into F-15? The answer was yes. 500 plus 500 is $1 million question for F-14 and F-15. Yet, we, the taxpayers, the town of Templeton, do not know why and how all of a sudden in F-14 was shot 505,000. I gone to the selectmen meeting and hoped that someone would draw a line and put 505,000 below the line, and then above the line explain how our town accountants were so absolutely sure it's 505. How did the $505,000 come to be? Now you're gonna go very shortly to the taxpayers of this town to come up with somewhere around $505,000. Yet, you don't want to tell the taxpayers why the $505,000. Well, you try to sell me something and say you want an amount of money, but you don't tell me why you need that amount of money. You're never going to get the taxpayers of this town to vote for any override if you're not willing to tell them why. This gentleman right here asked the question 3 times. Why? No one would answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Wilbur. Ken?
Diane, she has the breakdown of the 505, that's helpful
I think
information.
I just wanted to answer that it sort of has been answered, and do you mind if I speak to that?
No.
Mr. Dennis, it's here. This was spoken about, this probably isn't the exact paper, but it was read by Mr. Bennett at, not last meeting, but maybe the meeting before, forgive my memory. But this is part of, maybe I haven't spoken eloquently enough, of what I mean by educating the public. Of course you want to know why, and I think we've tried to, I think it's probably been talked about in different forms, but not like this. But there is a paper that kind of shows it. It's a little bit confusing, and I had wanted to, can I give this to Mr. Dennis?
Yeah.
You're welcome to this. I would, do you mind, thank you. Again, it's a little bit confusing, and I kind of wanted to, fix it a little bit, and then to be able to put that out there so that you can know the why. I agree, and that was really part of what I was trying to get at, so I might not have said that well, but you're welcome to that.
I think he's the one individual that will understand it.
Yeah,
I think.
probably
I do,
better
I
than
do.
me, but I wanted you to have that.
You're saying that the Board of Assessors overstated the tax levy?
What was that?
Are we
Yes.
saying here that the Board of Assessors overstated the tax levy?
Yes.
No, that would, the advisory committee's budget forecast
Was
is on the
over.
left.
How can you do that? That doesn't make very good sense for administration. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Chairman, that paper that you just handed out explains how the $505,477 was calculated, but it does not explain why some of the numbers are what they are. For example, why did long-term debt increase 580 some odd $1,000 in FY14? Why did the retirement category increase $222,000 in FY14? Why, in order to offset those unexplained to me expenses, why was the revenue for local receipts increased by, depending on how you calculate it, between over $500,000 and almost $1 million over the past 14-year average? The local receipts increased like 44% minimum, if you calculate this using the minimum figures, like 44%. The money that the local receipts is predicting to come in this year, we've only got another 4 months to collect it in FY14. The money that sheet is showing for the estimated income or revenues for local receipts is $2.2 million. No one has been able to explain to me where that money's coming from this year. I had an appointment today to speak to the treasurer after waiting a week and a half to speak to him, and I couldn't find him today. Mr. Bennett, the chairman, was very good to sit down with me for 2 hours and talk to me about the budget, but I accomplished very few answers. You referred me to the treasurer, but now the treasurer's gone. So I joined this gentleman in saying we don't know why
Again,
we're in this problem.
where the advisory board's forecast or estimate, where they looked at to get those numbers, I don't know. I've not spoken with them. I just asked the accountant for the copy of the recap sheet when it was finally done, and that's what he sent me. And it shows, like I said, what the advisory board projected, this would be, this would be, this would be, and the recap sheet was what they actually were. So I don't know if we can actually say that long-term debt increased by this much, because I don't know what the advisory board looked at to come up, where they got that number to start with.
And neither do I.
Right, and it's like the ambulance receipts account, they listed that as revenue, but did not list it as an expense.
That's a
And-
simple accounting
Right.
error. Yeah.
But the other numbers, as far as like the long-term debt increasing by, I know the numbers that are there, but I don't know where their starting point was. I don't know, where they got their information from to begin with. And the advisory board, I think they meet Wednesday. I think they're meeting this Wednesday.
The most glaring thing to me is how local receipts can increase as much as they did for FY14.
Like, again, I don't know if they actually increased that much, or maybe they looked at
It may be a method of accounting, because today, the accountant was good enough to give me just a few minutes. He's very, very busy. And I believe he was explaining to me that local receipts now is calculated by adding a lot of these numbers that used to be a wash. For example, retirement money payments and health insurance payments from our enterprise funds paying the town. Those are a wash figure. They come in and they go out. They're paid for services. They should not be part of local receipts.
That's what I mean, I'm not exactly sure, where the starting point was for the advisory committee. And that would probably, finding that would probably explain, would show the growth, or, what looks like an increase.
Yeah, that was my understanding as well, that just to use, if we use sewer, either debt or retirement payments that we make and then we're reimbursed for, that's what had happened, that obviously if you include both the expense and the revenue, you're fine. If you don't include either one, you're fine. But with some of these items, the revenue was counted and not the debt, or vice versa. That was my, right, and that's what, so I believe when you talk about the debt and at least the retirement as well, I believe that those were, at least my understanding, was that was a contributing factor to that the actual debt, the revenue had been counted but not the debt. And that's when those figures that were used to put together the tax levy projection, and that's why, one of the reasons why, at least those big chunks of money, doesn't explain everything.
One of the things you can see on this calculation sheet here is that on the recap sheet, the $150,000 payment from the electric company, which I think we call a pilot payment or in lieu of taxes or whatever, went into local receipts. And also another figure, the 100 and paid, that payment, and 162 or 3,000 in betterment payments went into that local receipts. The betterment payments are a wash figure. They have to be, or should be used for sewer expenses, paying down debt. So, just like you do not put the 160 figure into local receipts because it's a wash figure, there's a negative that cancels it out, and the sewer budget, $800 and something thousand is a wash because it's a negative for expenses. Those figures shouldn't be part of local receipts. But I'm seeing a couple of wash figures that are going in there, making this local receipts figure look bigger than it, artificially bigger than it really is, making us more comfortable, thinking that our deficit, or not deficit, but our shortfall is only 505,000. I'm not sure that it's not greater, which would account for the accountant telling me that there's going to be another $500,000 shortfall next year.
Do we know, because I know that Bob had said that he was hoping, and obviously he's not here now, but he was hoping to have the books closed and the figures off to DOR. Did you know if that?
Do not, I'm
Okay.
gonna shoot an email when I get home.
And hopefully this week, what was explained to us is, and I know that the town administrator is making it like his sole, not his sole, but his primary focus for this month is to get the books closed and those figures off to DOR, and he was hoping to do that early this week. Once, that's one of the benefits of having them go off to DOR and then they come back, because once a free cash is certified and those figures have been okayed by the DOR, we can trust them a little more than we probably can trust ourselves too. So if they've looked over all the work and they say that, I'm sure they'll have questions, but and they say that it's okay, I think then we'll be able to, I don't think we'll have this kind of quandary of doubt hanging over our heads for like months and months once the DOR, we get, for at least last year, or for knowing how much free cash we have to use this year. But you were correct, is that there still is a structural deficit. Our budget is set up in a way to spend $500,000 more than we have, so we can do temporary fixes, we can use free cash, we can, use the tax titles, and we're pushing that off, and, down the road, but inevitably we will have to fix that structural deficit where we are spending $500,000 more than we're bringing in. So override or cuts.
I ask these questions now tonight only because this gentleman is asking where it's coming from, why why we have this shortfall. And I honestly don't expect to get answers from you because I'm being told only the treasurer has the answers. So I'm just hoping that we figure out what's going on here soon.
Yes, and then.
Thank you. Back in February, I'd asked the same question, what happened, and the treasurer told me he was in the middle of an audit, and he was going to give me that information, and when I found out 2 days ago that he was gone, that's why I went looking for him to find out, because I wanted to find out exactly where, how far we were in debt. I wasn't concerned about tax titles and how you were going to pay for it with all this, anyway, the fact of the matter is did he finish the audit? Did he give you the paperwork that says this is, the bottom line?
That's what we need to find out.
Please?
No.
Okay, thank you.
Wilford.
There's a couple things that bothers me still. One of the things, John Brooks went to a selectmen's meeting, and he notified this board of selectmen that the assessor's work was done, and the rest was up to other individuals in the town. Now, as far as I know, I always thought the board of assessors, one of their functions was to come up with the levy limit. Now, if John Brooks said that the assessor's work was done, and their function is to come up with a levy limit, who in this administration would even consider deciding that the board of assessors didn't know what they were talking about, and we're going to change the levy limit? That's one thing. The second thing is, for years, the town would provide a list of receipts from the previous year, from the town accountant would do it. The idea was one-time receipts were thrown out, and if you received a certain amount the previous year on receipts, then you could expect to get that much on the coming year. So you were bound with no more than that. Who, in their right mind, would consider saying, oh, we're going to get a lot more money in receipts than we did the previous year? It makes no sense. This is simply awful for our town to undergo this type of stress.
Thank you, Wilford. Anything else?
I have one more question.
Yes.
Smile, it's cool. I just want to distinguish what Mrs. Wilder said about debt and the issue that I brought up about the selling the interest. I know there's a lot of controversy about what was going on about controlling the $150 contributions from the light and water, but that's not my purpose. I mean, the purpose of distinguishing this, eliminating our interest would give a tax revenue back to the town because it become private. And more importantly, as I had said, there'd be other issues that the town or the regulations would control for the benefit of the town, which we don't get today. So I understand if I have to go out and get 10 signatures for the next meeting to get a proposal to give you an instruction, but I'd like to get some kind of an answer about, if you ever entertaining this, because you're going for tax revenues on property owners where you have millions of dollars in interest that can be sold to National Grid or something else and get you right out of debt. And I don't understand why you don't do it.
I mean, this was not an agenda item, was it?
Yeah, it's, I already said that was, an issue for, it would be town meeting, and it would.
The only way to get it before town meeting, though, is to put it before a vote and to get it on in that respect. I mean, I'm talking to you because, when you said you entertained it before, and it is a solution. She had brought the question up in a point of order. she brought the question up, if we had any solutions for the town on the deficit, and I do. I have a solution, and it's sitting right before us. And I know it instructs, jobs and so forth, but you know what? We can't run it anyway, and we're not running it, and it seems to me that we have an interest that's worth millions of dollars, and I don't understand why we don't sell it.
Okay, well, when the warrant for the town meeting opens, you can submit a petition to try to make that happen, all right? All right,
We're all set.
the special town meeting day I put on here because the town administrator informed me that the 29th, he could make it that day, but he has a commitment, and he could change flight stuff and personal things to make it, but I put it on here to see if the board would entertain changing the day from 29th, which is a Saturday, to perhaps a Monday or Tuesday. I mean, the warrant could still close at the same time. It would just push it forward a day or two.
No, I don't change it, but we already, most people already know about it, and, I mean, we decided at the last meeting, but
We don't have to do it,
I
I
mean,
just
that's
put it
only
on
my
there
thought.
to-
There are 4 other of you. I mean, if you're asking me specifically, I would like to keep it the same.
no? Just,
I'm not against moving it, but I mean, we can't, move it to meet everybody. I mean, I was out of the country at last town meeting, we didn't move it, so,
okay,
but I don't really have a problem with it.
no, that's fine.
I would prefer to have the town administrator here for the special town meeting.
I wish he was here to speak on it, but he can make it. It's just a financial thing for him. So I just put it on just to see, just to ask the question for him. Okay, so we'll,
Well, I'll make a motion to move it to April 2nd. It's not that far from the 29th. It's a Wednesday.
the thing is, we'll have to check.
Yeah, but we don't even know if the space is available.
We would have to check to see if the gym and
Can
stuff
we
is
have this
open.
as an agenda item for Monday, the 10th?
Yeah, we can. Can also talk to him on Thursday.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. Julie, do you have anything?
I do, actually. It ties into what Mr. Kaplis was talking about, outreach for veterans. It's a program called Operation Moneywise, and it's going to take place on March 22nd. And it's free financial counseling to veterans, service members, and their families, and it's going to be held at Mass Bay Community College. And I'd like it, if we could put it on. I just give it to you, it's got it in an email.
That it?
Yeah.
Anything? Doug?
One thing I've got is I want to thank the folks that came out Saturday and helped over at the senior center, moving stuff around, cleaning up. So we had 8 volunteers from the community come over, so it was a good day of work.
Diane?
No, I don't really have anything.
Ken?
The school budget subcommittee meeting was canceled last week because of lack of quorum, so we are meeting this upcoming week instead, so.
Tomorrow?
Is it,
No.
is it, this meeting
Tomorrow?
tomorrow? I think.
Yes,
Tomorrow?
yeah.
Yeah.
Tomorrow
I think I'm
here?
coming to that.
Is it here?
Yes, there.
I believe it's here, yes, tomorrow.
6:30?
6:30.
6:30.
Yeah, I have a different meeting at 6, but.
All right. I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So
So moved.
Second.
Motion made and seconded.
Sorry.
All right. Julie?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Diane?
Yes.
Ken?
Yes.
And yes.
All right.
Almost made the 8:30.
I don't take that stuff home, so
We
we
started
can
3 minutes late.
here.
That was an original.
Clock fast.
Holly.
Oh, yeah.